how properly understand ontologic conception of Shrestha Maharaj?
It's actually a very good question. Because there's like a dictionary definition of ontological, the study of the nature of origins of things. But we could say, really, he's rendering Siddhanta as ontology in this sense. Or because we'll think, well, he's also using it in the sense of philosophy. And we know philosophy is sort of like a double-edged sword word with devotees. One minute we're saying, we're not interested in philosophy. Next minute we're saying, I'm a philosopher. What does he mean? Right? So that's why the word Siddhanta is more helpful if we understand that that's really what he's talking about, the ultimate conclusion. Ultimately, what is to be understood? Like, it's almost an allusion to prayojan tattva, but with sambandha avideya included. So we say sambandha avideya prayojan, that's our ontological structure of Gaudiya Siddhanta. That's correct also. But Srila Guru Maharaj, well, I wanted to say about that. So if we say, as the Charitamritam slok says, this very beautiful one, the beginning of the Ramananda Sambad, where it says, is it Sancharja Ramabhida Bhakta Meghe Bhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani? That's not correct, the wording, but it's similar to that, saying that Gaurabdi, like Rasabdi, Gaurabdi, Gauranidhi, that Mahaprabhu, he's an ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta. Now, here, we don't think of Siddhanta as like, oh, that's like philosophy. We're talking about reality. Like, it may on one level mean philosophical conclusions, but that's just a literary way of alluding to a representation of the ultimate reality of truth. They're not two separate things, like, oh, here's Siddhanta and then here's devotion. It's not. They're inseparable. But when you analyze it, you can use this terminology or various other types of terminology. Right? Just as we know, like the word yoga, it's so much used. Then what is, Samkhya yoga, Jnana yoga, Buddhi yoga, Bhakti yoga. So Guru Maharaj used to quote this one expression, as connotation increases, denotation decreases. So if we say, back to that sloka, Bhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani. They're saying Mahaprabhu is like this ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta, and Ramananda is called Bhakta Meg. Meg means cloud. So he's the devotee, is like a cloud the clouds are produced from the ocean. So from the ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta, that is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Ramananda appeared like a cloud, and then he rains back onto the ocean again. That's the first sloka of the Ramananda Sambad. So whenever Kaviraj Goswami gives some introductory sloka like that, it's really very compacted, concentrated meaning about what is to follow. Right? Because at one point, toward the end of the talk, Mahaprabhu is praising Ramananda for expressing all these wonderful things. Right? Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva Sar, Leela Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, all of these things are described there. Mahaprabhu is praising him, and Ramananda says, really, I'm like a musical instrument and you're playing me. You are causing me to say all of these things. So now you're praising me for what I'm saying, but you're the cause of that. So it alludes back to the sloka saying, yes, from that ocean, Ramananda's appeared like a cloud, he's raining back onto the ocean. So now there's a word in Sanskrit for philosophy. One of the words is darshan. Now we understand the word darshan mainly like going before the deity or the Vaishnav. Right? And even there, we think, oh, we go to see. But Guru Maharaj said more accurately, we go to be seen. We have, and this is an interesting side point, there's our small capacity to see the deity and the deity's infinite capacity to see us. So we'll be benefited by presenting ourselves before the deity, recognizing that our own capacity to view the deity properly is very limited. So that's one meaning of darshan. But another meaning is philosophy, like Gaudiya darshan or Vedanta darshan. In that sense, what does it mean? A way of seeing. How do the Gaudiyas see things? That's what Gaudiya darshan is. Guru Maharaj himself explaining one, saying, Mahaprabhu has a particular vision that he is revealing and that comes down in the Rupanuga line with Sanatan and Raghunath Das and their positions. This is Gaudiya darshan, how the Gaudiyas view the ultimate reality, how Gaudiya darshan, connects to Vedanta darshan. So in this context, darshan means philosophy. So it means a perspective, a way of seeing. So as I told that when one devotee arrived at the Madh in Navadvip and he asked Srila Guru Maharaj, now that I'm here, what should my service be? And Guru Maharaj responded by saying, your service is to acquire the proper angle of vision. That's darshan also. That's Gaudiya darshan. He's saying, what is your service? Gaudiya darshan. That's another way of saying it. And that may take and shape in so many different practical ways. But he's saying, really, you're here to acquire the proper angle of vision. Otherwise, what is the point? Which means ontological, an ontological way of seeing. Right? Gaudiya ontology. And what was that work of Saraswati Thakur? One about ontology and morphology. That's another book, but we don't want to get into that right now. But anyway, so he's saying, it's the primal guru mantram, Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Saying, the eye is cataracted by clouds of ignorance. What is a cataract but some sort of a cloud that's creating opacity for light? It's interesting, actually. That's what it's doing. It's allowing less light in the eye. It's covering. So what does he do? Remove the cataractus eye of ignorance with what? Like laser surgery. Again, with light to remove, with illumination, light, and light in the sense of an illuminating perspective. Right? So, Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Prayojan. Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Gyan Acharya. Right? And what is he doing? What is his principal work in this regard? The Brihad Bhagavatamritam. And what does it do, really? I can say this in a short observation. It begins in Saguna. Not only the highest aspect of Saguna, Sattvagun. Brahmins in Prayag doing their puja. And then he's going to go from there to the Nirguna place, from Karma Misra Bhakti to Jnana Misra Bhakti to Jnana Shunya Bhakti etc. He's going to show step by step by step. And in that way, we're going to learn perspective. Just as when I went to Srila Guru Maharaj, and I had some acquaintance with the contents of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, little Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, some other works like that. But it became obvious to him, and even obvious to me in time, that there was not much structure to what I understood. And it came out once when I asked him, because he's always talking about gradation, I said, Prabhupada liked to quote the teachings of Rishabdev to his sons in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Like, Tapo dibyam putraka yena sattvam sudhyed yasmad brahma sokyam tvanantam. So I said, where would that be located? And Guru Maharaj was a little surprised. What? I said, where would that be in this? And he said, generic bhakti. And then he said, haven't you gone through the Brihad Bhagavatamritam? And I said, no. So he gave some sanction to read that at the time. But what he meant was, you need to learn the structure, where something is located. What is Karma Misra Bhakti? What is Jnana Misra Bhakti? And Sanatana Goswami is delineating all of this in the work Brihad Bhagavatamritam. With what is the ultimate conclusion of Brihad Bhagavatamritam? Asamaho charanarenu jasamahangshang Vrindavane kimapi gomalato yad dushjam swajanam arjapatam jihitva bejur mukunda parivim shrutibir vimrigyam. That what the Vedas are searching for, it's like in a slok, what the Vedas are searching for, the Braja Gopis have got. Right? And Uddhava, the Uddhava, who's the advisor to Krishna, Dwaraka, Uddhava, intimate knowledge of all the queens of Dwaraka, who's the messenger of Krishna to bring from Mathura to Braja Gopis, suffering separation from Krishna. He is aspiring for the position of a creeper so that some of the dust from the lotus feet of the Braja Gopis will come upon his head. So, in that sloka, it occupies a unique position in the conclusion of the first half of Brihad Bhagavatamritam, and again in the second half of Brihad Bhagavatamritam. Right? So anyway, so Sanatana Goswami is saying that. What did Mahaprabhu tell Rupa Goswami? The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or you can say the Bhakti Siddhanta Sindhu, is an unlimited ocean. I'm going to take one drop from that and explain it to you, and then it becomes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But if we go further, right, Guru Maharaj will point out also, Sanatana Goswami referring to himself as a Rupa Nuga. This is the Rupa Nuga line. Located in the center is Rupa Goswami. Located in the center are also his deities. Govind, Dibyad Brindaranya Kapadrumadha, Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto, Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo, Prestalibi Sevavyumanu Smarami, Madan Mohan, to break the attraction of Cupid and awaken one to the reality potential of erotic principle and unalloyed devotion. Raghunath Das Goswami, Prayojana Tattva Acharya, showing ultimately our target is with Radha Dasyam, with Radharani, and not Krishna directly. In the middle position, the Govinda deity, Sriman Rasa Rasarang Bhi Bangshi Bhatta Tatastita, Karshan Venu Swanai Gopi, Gopinatha Sriyestuna. We're saying Gopinath, this is all groups in the Rasa Leela, but in the middle, Rupa Goswami, Prestalibi Sevyamanu Smarami, a selected group. So he said, always in the middle position, we'll find the substance of Krishna conception. As we hear in Bhagavad Gita as well, in the middle section. So Srila Guru Maharaj, he will say now that his ontological method comes from the Ramananda Samvad. And if we look at the sort of things he emphasizes repeatedly, we'll see they're about gradation. So Brihad Bhagavatamritam is all about gradation. Right? The sloka he quotes from Rupa Goswami, Vaikuntaj Janito Bara Madhupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavad, is about gradation. Why is Mathura superior to Vaikuntha? Janita, there's Janitaj, Tatrapi. Anyway, that there's birth pastimes there, right? So it goes beyond the 2.5 rasas of Vaikuntha, etc. So that's about gradation. But Ramananda Samvad in particular is all about gradation, but on a very fine level. So he will say by his own admission that his whole approach to everything springs out of the Ramananda Samvad. When I asked Srila Gurudev once that I noticed that Guru Maharaj did not read books, or anything for that matter, and we could say, well, he was legally blind. You know. But I said, does he ever ask you to read something to him? First Gurudev was like, well, oh, one thing. Oh, I said, what? He said, Ramananda Samvad. Like every now and then he wanted to go over that again. But he's always going over these things on his own internal dialogue. Right? He has an internal dialogue that's going on, that's continually generating new spiritual substance, fresh realization, original concepts and thinking. So then I like to add to that we know Guru Maharaj explains to us he was once challenged that by a former follower of Saraswati Thakur, that he said, he's introduced things that are not in the Vedas. Right? Meaning, so we should reject these things as being apasiddhantic, or, yeah, that would be the word. Siddhanta, avarota, same thing. So Guru Maharaj, his response was, he said, what do we find in the Vedas? He says, what are they? We were discussing this the other day. And although they're the first literature, right? The Rig Veda is the first revealed truth, but Puranic literatures come later, but they have information from previous creations, and they come to fulfill the purpose of what Veda is given. So Guru Maharaj said, what do the Vedas deal with? And there's that Gita sloka. I just remember the lines, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjana, Triguna Bhavar. It's where Krishna is actually telling Arjuna, the Vedas mainly deal with the 3 modes of nature. This is what... Huh? Yeah, I can't remember the exact words, but you know the sloka I'm talking about. It says they mainly deal with this. So Nistraigunyo, try to rise beyond... Trivedyamam, Somapa, Putapapa, that's another one. But anyway, there are many references to them, the Vedas dealing with the 3 modes of material nature, saying you have to go beyond that. So Guru Maharaj, by way of response, said, so the Vedas mainly deal with Brahman, some Paramatma, and a hint of Bhagavan. He said, but our Guru Maharaj and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they're dealing with Mahaprabhu's full-fledged theistic conception, right? Which means not only Krishna conception, but Radhadasyam, and as given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he said, in essence, what they're giving is superior. So, and who are the Vedic rishis? And we come back to this conception of darshan, seeing, observing, drishi, drishtva. So what they see and experience of the truth, They're not. He goes out of his way to point out the word sarshti is not used, which means create. They don't create literatures, but he said the mantra passing through their consciousness, revealed truth passing through their consciousness, and then expressed here. It's expressed in the form of Veda and other works. He said, so just as we were mentioning, the Bhagavatam says, Satya Yuga, inhabitants of Satya Yuga desire to take birth in the Kali Yuga, right? So one devotee surprised to hear that, but weren't they 90% pure devotees in the Satya Yuga? And the Guru said, no, they didn't have that type of devotion. They're just, 90% favorable rating on general, spiritual culture, but it's not like they were 90% of the world were pure devotees of Krishna. He's saying, not at all. But at any rate, so Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what the Siddhanta that they're expressing surpassed what was given previously. If we look in the Bhaktivinoda Virahadasakam, in one line, when Guru, the one Dharmas, Charma Gateva, Yogos, Chabogatmako, there's that sloka, where Guru Maharaj is telling what was the condition when Bhaktivinoda Thakur descended in this world. Then the next sloka comes, and he's saying, but what the great acharjas have given, you surpassed that. Because he mentioned South India, which is the land of, was the most religious part of the country and also the place of the acharjas. You surpassed what they've given by giving Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya Siddhanta. So we could say that really ontology in this sense means the truth about reality, right? Vastava vastu, like in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, dealing with spiritual substance. But we know that spiritual substance can be expressed in a general way, in a more refined way, in a super refined way. Sometimes Srila Guru Maharaj will refer to the fifth dimension as Adhoksaja, the Adhoksaja realm, Vaikuntha, or excuse me, the fourth dimension. Fifth dimension, he'll say, is Aprakrita Lila. So there's, remember the sloka, Siddhantatas Tvaved Vedepi? When this occurs in the Bhagavatam, in the beginning of Charitamritam, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, why does it come out? He's doing some comparative Siddhantic analysis. So he's saying, we shouldn't shy away from this. Actually, it'll make you even more focused. But it has to do with gradation, where he's saying, it's not incorrect to say that the Lord is an incarnation of Kiradakshai Vishnu. He's saying, but does it really add to his glories? And so he's going to express more accurately, with greater precision, who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Same thing on a comparative analysis between Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamritam. Interestingly, Srila Guru Maharaj says, Chaitanya Bhagavat has rasa, but no ontology, or very little ontology. And we know there may be a handful of slokas in there. Really, if you can, it's a few. Whereas Chaitanya Charitamritam is ontologically heavy. It's Madhura Rasa literature, but you have, approximately 1,000 Sanskrit slokas, and very complex, comprehensive, like Sri, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Rasmad. On that on the word Vikritir, once Gurudev told me, he said, I've been thinking about this for 40 years. This word. That's ontological gravity and weight. And the book begins with a lot of, this is the 14 slokas, Guru Maharaj sometimes calls the steel frame, or the structure, steel girders upon which the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is going to be built. Slokas written by Swarup Damodar, others by Rupa Goswami. Kaviraj Goswami, when he's giving his own, he's referring to the Chaitanyastakam of Rupa Goswami. These are always very sedantically, heavily laden slokas. And then so many other things are expressed also.